Well, hello there, Kansas City. Stephen St. John here with another episode of Hot Mic with SSJ. But one difference this week, we actually have a new title sponsor. Ben, can you tell us who is brave enough to attach their name to our fine podcast? As you see right here, ladies and gentlemen, our man Patrick Carter, kcfarmersagent.com. He can help you save on home, auto, business, condo, renters, life, whatever you need. My man Patrick Carter, kcfarmersagent.com. Thank you, Patrick, and hopefully you will get a lot of response from the wonderful listeners of the Hot Mic with SSJ podcast. And Patrick is a faithful listener of the podcast. Please don't hold that against him. So today we're going to do another bit of a movie review. You know, we did the Many Saints of Newark, the Sopranos movie, last month. And so this week we're going to discuss the brand new director's cut, the recut of one of the greatest movies in cinematic history, Rocky IV. It's Rocky IV, the Rocky versus Drago director's cut that Sylvester Stallone spent the entire pandemic, I think over 8 months, recutting, re-editing, and forming the movie more to his original vision that he wanted. And so to have a good discussion of this, I brought in a self-professed Rocky expert. And I know he is because he tells me that all the time. He's one of my best friends that I grew up with. You hear me reference him on the Border Patrol from time to time. His name is Big Tom. Do we want your last name out there? Or
I don't care.
Big Tom Ragusa, who I went to grade school with at St. John's Tri-School, which no longer exists. It was on the corner of Brooklyn and Independence Avenue, third grade. I left Scarrett School and joined you at St. John's in the third grade, and then we went on to fame at St. Pius X High School, and we haven't looked back. Then we attended Caddyshack University, which we both graduated with master's degrees there. And so the first question, in the history of our relationship, do you believe you have gotten me into more trouble or gotten me out of more trouble?
That's a good question.
It's a really good question because I was thinking and I couldn't figure it out.
If I can remember all them things.
Right. What would you? Which way would you lean? Because my mom. Here's the thing. My mom. Tom was 40 years old when we were in 8th grade. If that explains anything. And he was always he was the first one to drive. He's the first one to do everything. Right. And so if there was ever a guy that maybe my mom should have been worried that I was going to go hang out with, it maybe should have been Tom. But it wasn't because he would always watch over me. My mom knew this. My mom loved Tom.
I think it was the Eddie Haskell
It was
quality.
A very Eddie Haskell quality. And so I'd say something like, Mom, I'm going over to Tom's house, spending the night. We're going to hang out. You know, we're going down to Crown Center or whatever else. She goes, oh, I know you'll be okay with Tom. He'll take care of you. And but back then, you did not take care of me. You would drag me through the mud.
I think your father's story was a little off.
Right. What was that?
I think when he said that he was drunk and he goes, no, not Steven. I think she said, no, not with Tom.
Right, not with Tom.
Yeah.
Tom wouldn't let him do that, as opposed to Tom forcing beer onto me. And so, look, point is, we've been dear friends. He's godfather to my twin daughters. Richie, you've known him since a baby. What would you say about Big Tom here? As of course my son Richie St. John, who's a frequent guest on the podcast.
Well, I would say that he's a guardian angel. Never causes any trouble for anybody. Just a real respectable guy, you know.
Hey, the best thing I can say is
he's not always around.
It doesn't matter. 24/7. If I ever need Tom, I call him. And he's there. And then sometimes if I don't need him, he's there.
Absolutely.
Which is kind of like Candyman. You say his name 3 times in the mirror, and he appears with a hook, which is very off-putting. And so here is, and so one of the cool things about this to me was, so we went to see one night only last Thursday. They had this Rocky IV director's cut at the movie theaters. They played it at 7 o'clock around the nation, but they also had a live Q&A with Sylvester Stallone live from Philadelphia, talked about the process, talked about the movie, and then we watched it at the movie theater. Now you can get it on Amazon, and you can stream it, but we wanted to go. I mean, we don't get a chance to go see Rocky movies at the movie theater anymore. So Tom was there, my dad was there, Both my boys were there. My boys grew up on Rocky, so it was a big deal. My wife was there. We wanted to see Rocky on the big screen again. And so we were very excited. But I will encourage you, and we'll reference this a couple of times, there is also a documentary, the making of the director's cut of Rocky versus Drago, and you can watch that for free on YouTube. It's about an hour and a half, and it's filled with great tidbits. Sylvester Stallone did this on an iPhone during the pandemic when everything was shut down, and it chronicles the process of him recutting the movie, talking about things that he hated from the original movie, mistakes that he made. And so if you're a Rocky fan, if you're a fan of movies, you just got to watch this. It's just terrific. And so you can watch that, and then you can stream the director's cut, which is about an hour and a half as well, on Amazon.com, and see the changes he made from the original Rocky IV to this Rocky IV. So we'll start there. And one of the cool things about it is Tom and I saw the original Rocky IV together.
We did.
With my mom and dad at Blue Ridge East.
We did. As a matter of fact, when I was in the show, you was obviously in the first row, and I was in the last row.
That's right. That's what.
Like always.
That's the way we do
That's the
things
way
around
life
here,
is.
right?
And-
Well, because I bought my tickets 2 months ago,
And I forgot.
and he forgot, so he bought his tickets the day of,
Right.
and so here comes Ben. Ben is going to come in
Hi,
here
Ben.
and try to steal your sandwich. So watch out here.
So I looked at Lindsay, my girlfriend, and I said, I think I seen this with Steven in 1985.
Right, and you
So-
did.
And I did. I didn't. I started thinking about it. I said, I did. And then I texted you. I was saying, you said, yeah.
I can't remember where I put my keys earlier in the afternoon, but I can remember in 1985.
Well, 1985 was really good for us.
Right. Oh, it was
Oh,
fantastic.
I got something
What-
for you.
oh,
Oh, you're gonna like this one. You don't
What
know
is
this one.
I told you no
Look, I
surprises.
got props. See, I'm not like Jake. Look at this.
What is it?
Remember the article?
Oh yeah.
Read the article.
Rocky versus Drago for guilt or glory. Public outrage over Apollo's death, and says what the Royals can't erase is the fact that they will now become the 10th. What is it? What's about
It's
the
the
World
World Series.
Series? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so it's about
Yeah,
the World.
about
So
the
yeah,
World Series.
1985.
Kansas World Series.
Right. So
Which we're also.
where was this from?
That's from the flashbacks in the conference.
Okay,
In the conference
I
of
got
the
you.
movie.
Oh, so it's also that shows the Royals are
This-
in the movie. All right,
Yes. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
The
So that's
1985,
what
right?
85, yeah.
And so we saw the original movie together. So we were there in the same theater to watch the recut. And so I asked you guys both the same question right after we saw it. Did you like the new version of Rocky IV better than the old version of Rocky IV?
And I thought about that more and more.
And when see your first
Man,
answer,
no, yes, I did.
couldn't
Yes, I
believe
did.
what you said.
I
you said yes.
I said yes because it was here.
Why did you say yes? You like
Because
the
I'm
new
older.
one.
It was more towards me as a 49-year-old man than a 13-year-old boy.
That's the perfect answer.
So that's when I started thinking about that. But then when I went back to watch the original one for the first cut, I started thinking, well, this is what I know. If you're a Rocky fan, you're every line.
right.
So that kind of threw me off because the
Right.
lines were different. Now this has got every line in it that I remember. Well, then I go back and forth to, well, I like this one also.
Right.
But this one brings me back to 13 years old and a lot of memories.
Yeah, it's nostalgic.
Yeah, and this one here is kind of a better made movie.
Okay, so Richie, did you like the new one better than the old one, or did you have a preference? You like them both? How did you feel about it?
That was a hard one for me as well, right? It's Rocky IV, so I'm gonna like it no matter what. But I do think I'm kind of leaning towards the director's cut, just because you get a little bit more of like the introspection from Rocky, you know, going through his emotions and talking about things, and just the overall tone.
And so what Sylvester Stallone explained was the first movie he was heavily influenced by MTV. It
Right.
was 1985. A lot of montages, right?
7.
And he said he was in a hurry throughout the whole movie. He was in a hurry to get to the next scene. He didn't really care about character development. He thought everyone, they know Rocky, they know Apollo. He wanted to introduce Drago, and he said he had all these lines written for Drago, but he didn't really use them, right? Because he was so concerned about the music, which, by the way, Rocky IV, one of the greatest movie soundtracks in history.
I still work out to it.
Absolutely, it ages so well. But that's not the problem. But it's this. He said the different camera angles, the cuts, everything's bam, bam, bam at a breakneck pace, and you never spend too much time in one scene. And one of the things that I will recommend about watching the documentary on YouTube, you can see how uncomfortable Sylvester Stallone is watching the old Rocky IV, to the point where he covers his eyes and he'll stop it and he'll say, oh, I can't believe we did that. And so one example, this is how quickly they put it together, and the editing wasn't done with a fine tooth comb. And so there's a scene in Rocky IV when Apollo is getting ready to fight Drago, and he's going, I want you, and so he's going, I want you, and he has no gloves on his hands, and then immediately he has gloves on his hands in the next scene because they're in the ring, and Stallone's like, I can't believe we missed that. We were so quick just to move on to the next scene. And so now in the new Rocky, mistakes like that. And it was a painstaking process. The best part of the documentary is he goes through all the fight scenes and the choreography and how much time they spent, months and months, just for the fight scene between Rocky and Drago. And he went through and he found all these different clips where it was clear that the punches missed. And it drove him crazy. And after he watched the movie enough times, he said, I want to go back and fix that, because he showed if the camera angle straight on, you can see when the punch comes up short, but by different angles and the use of just better editing, it looks better and it looks like the punches land, which a lot of them did, but most of them didn't.
Yeah, they did. He was hospitalized.
Right.
He got hit in the chest by Drago.
That's another revelation that was in the documentary, that Rocky, Sylvester Stallone actually had to spend 4 days in intensive care because he had trauma to his chest, where he actually had swelling around his heart, and they equated it to if you have a car accident and you have the impact of the steering wheel into your chest. That's how bad it was. They filmed in Canada, and he had to leave Canada and take a low-altitude flight to a hospital so he could be in intensive care for 4 days. He said he almost died. And it was grueling, and he talks about, and he showed some pictures where punches did land. And it was really interesting, too, because they showed some raw footage. And so they'd be in the ring, and they're getting ready to film another scene. And so then Stallone, he said to get amped up, right before they hit, they say action, he's like, action, and basically he said he put himself through hell, damaged his back, his spine, his shoulders, everything to make this movie. And he said that it sounds arrogant, but no one will ever be able to put that type of fight scene on film. You can't top it. It's better than any of the other Rockies, and it's tremendous.
It's tremendous.
Right?
I mean, it's elevated the other movies like Creed. They do the same now, but I mean, yeah, as far as Rockies, it's the best.
It's the best fight scene. And look, and him and Carl Weathers, and that was fantastic as well. But there was something wonderful about that scene in Russia in Rocky IV, and he also talked about how the actual storyline was taken from Joe Louis and Max Schmeling. If you remember, Joe Louis was the heavyweight champion. Max Schmeling was basically a tool of Adolf Hitler and propaganda for the Nazis, and he fought Joe Louis and beat Joe Louis. And then, of course, Adolf Hitler used him as a recruiting tool, a propaganda tool, and then in the rematch, and so then Joe Louis went in seclusion and trained like he had never trained before, kind of like Rocky did up in the mountains of Russia, which is actually Canada, and
right.
And did all that, and that Joe Louis did that in real life, and so in the rematch, he absolutely demolished Max Schmeling and knocked him out in the first round, and which led Hitler to go crazy and ban Max Schmeling from Germany, which is a whole other story. But that's where he got the idea of having this Rocky versus Drago storyline in Rocky IV. Hey, Hot Mike with SSJ fans. I mentioned that we have a brand new sponsor, and that's my main man, Patrick Carter with Farmers Insurance. Let me tell you a little bit more about Patrick Carter. Patrick can help you save money. Are you tired of having to call an 800 number to get assistance with your insurance policy? Do you want someone local you can trust? That's my man, Patrick Carter with Farmers Insurance. Go to kcfarmersagent.com and click Contact Me to request a quote. Or you could text Hot Mike to the number 913-248-8861, and Patrick will get back to you. He's been friends with Ben Messner and Jake Gutierrez for over 20 years, but please don't hold that against him. Patrick is here to help you. He's local, you can trust him, and most importantly, he is a loyal listener of the Border Patrol and Hot Mike with SSJ, which means he's a fantastic man. Don't forget to check him out at kcfarmersagent.com, or you could text Hot Mike to the number 913-248-8861. 8861 and tell him you love Stephen St. John. So the other thing I thought was interesting I wanted to ask you about is he said he regrets killing off Apollo Creed in the movie. He said if he had to do all over again, he would have had him badly injured or maybe in a wheelchair so he could continue to have that character in the movie. He could have been more like of a Rocky or a Mickey mentor figure, and it would have changed the Rocky universe. But he says that he could have got 2 more movies. There would have never been a Rocky V with Tommy Morrison, which was horrible.
We hope.
Right.
We wish.
But so when you think about that, do you wish they would have left? That they would have kept Apollo alive, or is that just reminiscing and over romanticizing? Because I think that's what made it so powerful that Apollo died. And
I think so too.
Right.
I think so. And then the movies after that. I mean, you wouldn't have those. I mean,
right. You wouldn't have Creed.
No, you wouldn't have Creed, which is powerful. What a genius thing to do. Let's carry one name on for this many films, and we'll just change the name and carry it on.
And I love the Creed franchise, right?
I do.
Okay, and so what do you think? Like, you're a fan of the Creed franchise. Wouldn't have had those.
Absolutely.
When you look back, I think it was such a powerful moment. Like, I mean, I'll be honest with you, 12, 13-year-old kids, we're in tears because Apollo died. Like, we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
There was no internet. We didn't get any spoilers.
No.
We went to the movie. We didn't know what's going on. And I remember I'm like, well,
I think he held my hand.
Right. I probably did, like, Apollo died. Like, that was a big moment in the movie, and that's why then you just couldn't I can't wait till he gets this Russian son of a bitch in the ring, and he's going to kick his ass. And that's why it was so powerful, the training sequence, and, and Apollo's former trainer having that talk with him, Duke, and then Adrian shows up, and then Rocky, and the other thing I thought was cool is when he's lifting everyone in the cart. That was an homage to the original Hercules movie, like with Steve Reeves, and there's a similar scene and that was his homage to Hercules. And so, what do you think? Don't you think that the Apollo Creed death was so powerful that that's really what made the movie so emotional, or do you think Rocky's right, Sylvester Stallone's right? He should have let Apollo live in the franchise.
I feel like it's what you said. It's sort of romanticizing it because we all wanted Apollo to live,
right?
But that's what made it so powerful. We didn't want him to die. So I mean, even if he had some sort of tragic injury, it would have been awful, but it just wouldn't have had the same punch to it,
Pun intended. And so here's the other thing. Like you made a great point. You talked about how this movie you loved because you're 49, and the other movie it's nostalgic because you were 13. But there's something deeper into that because Sylvester Stallone talked about this. He said that again. The 1985 movie was so heavily influenced by MTV and and fast cars and robots and lights
and so were we.
Strobe and everything, right? And so when you're 12 or 13 years old and fans of the Rocky franchise.
And by the way, Steven had all them things at 13 years old.
I had a robot. I did have a robot, right?
Oh,
and we did horrible things to that robot. Then the robot
I can only imagine.
Stop, please, stop. Do not touch me there. And so, but that's what was popular. It was MTV.
Yes,
And he said it was basically like a series of 6 or 7 music videos that were tied together by some fight scenes. And he can't stand watching it now. But that's what sold in 1985.
And that's what we loved.
Right.
When you got in your car, you always played "There's No Easy Way Out."
Right. That's right. And think introspectively about everything that's going wrong in your life, or
and drove very fast.
Right. But I don't know about that. But that's what the audience was. You wanted to see that. You wanted to see like a big, long hour-and-a-half music video. And so now he said, and he's 75 years old, by the way. All these years later, 35 years later. He said it's different. Now I look back and I see the mistakes. And what's great about this new Rocky V or this new Rocky IV, there's so many scenes I didn't even know existed that they just left on the cutting room floor, right? And so, like, say for instance, there's a scene of Rocky and Apollo in the front yard of his house, discussing why Apollo wants to fight Drago. And back in the day, it's just, it's Apollo in the pool with the tennis balls and the dogs, sees the TV.
What did they change in the pool?
What did they change?
No Church's Chicken commercial.
Oh, that's okay. There we go.
No
there's our Rocky experts. So to bring all that up.
And the music was different, obviously.
Right, but there was more meat on the bone as far as why Apollo wanted to fight Ivan Drago. And then you have a scene where they're over there, they're at the dinner table, and Adrian goes into the kitchen. Rocky follows in there, so there's an added scene there where Rocky and Adrian are talking about this, and Adrian just saying, "Look, Apollo, he just doesn't want to be irrelevant. He wants to stay relevant. He wants his name out there. He can't handle this being an ex-fighter." And you get more of a reason why, like you think, and you're watching the first fight, I didn't really think about it because I just was enjoying the movie. Like, why does he want to do this? Why is he coming out of retirement to fight this guy? He's fighting an amateur from Russia. What does he have to gain by it? But it was this: he was unhappy with himself, and he could not handle not being in the spotlight. And so they gave a little bit more depth to that storyline, and I did like that a lot. And also, it starts off.
Well, he's a patriot too. Apollo's always a patriot.
Right.
In the
Uncle
first
Sam.
one, Uncle Sam, he's always about that. I want you, this and that, and that followed the storyline with the Russian.
And it started off too with a scene from Rocky 3 when Rocky's fighting Clubber Lang, and then it goes into the storyline of Rocky 4. So there's even a difference there. Some of the other changes, and I thought this was really interesting. There was a few scenes there where it gave Drago a little bit of character, because let's be honest, what was he? He was basically a robot.
A robot, yeah.
He was they in the movie you tried to take every emotion out of him. He couldn't speak for himself. He couldn't do anything for himself. He was injected with everything. He was an example of modern science, and he was like, and Sylvester describes it, he was the perfect man of the future. But here,
he was under their thumb,
right?
Basically,
right. But here in the recut of the movie, there's a couple of times, just seen after the fight against Creed, that they didn't, a post-fight interview with Ivan Drago that I didn't know existed, and they're interviewing him. He goes, "Soon everyone will know my name, Drago." And then you see right there, oh, he's not just doing this for Russia, he's doing it for himself,
right.
Which is a no-no. And then you see his manager kind of look back like, "What the hell is he talking about? You're doing this for Russia, you ain't doing this for Drago." And like, oh. So he was kind of thinking for himself early on. That's the way the character was supposed to be structured.
Well, he started mentioning that in the end of the fight.
Right.
When he said, "I fight for me."
Right. When he looked it up,
But they ended it with that.
Right, because that was the first indication that he,
Mm-hmm.
And there was also a scene at the press conference when they're announcing the fight against Rocky, when they're asking him to talk, he goes, "I have nothing to say." But you could tell he had something to say that he was holding it back.
Right.
Little nuances like that, but it adds depth to the character. And then you see, okay, this guy just wasn't a soulless, emotionless fighter, a robot. He was a guy that was fighting for his own glory, and he had reasons why. And they also made him
They had something on him.
Right.
They
Well,
had him by
of
the
course. Sure
balls.
they did.
They had
Yeah,
him on-
well, that
they
was
had
where Bridget Nielsen came in,
Yeah.
right? But so then also in the movie, they made, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, it was a different feel to the fight scene. Rocky cut Drago earlier on in the fight in the recut.
I noticed that.
Right.
And started to have success. It wasn't like a total blowout.
No.
Where he's
No.
getting his ass kicked and then he got lucky and caught him.
Also in the Apollo fight, it wasn't a total
Right.
blowout, which is a lot better.
He wanted to show Drago with more vulnerability. Like Apollo was actually, he went out fighting. He went out on the shield. And in the Rocky movie, he made it more of an even fight to where, yes, Drago starts off very fast, but then early on, Rocky is hanging in there with him, and he cuts him, and it's more of an even slugfest because he thought that brought more like a certain mortality to Drago, and he said he didn't like the way he made Creed and Rocky so inferior to Ivan Drago. So did you like the recut of the fight scenes?
Definitely like the recut of the fight scenes. They were 100% better. I like them. It told more in the fight scene.
Right.
It told a lot more. I love that. I mean,
and could you tell that because you haven't watched the documentary, but you saw that there was a different feel to the fight scene where Rocky was in the fight earlier. He cut Drago earlier, and it was more up in the air. And you saw it, and earlier on in the fight, and Drago said more things in the corner. Remember that famous scene after he gets cut? He is like a piece of iron.
Yeah.
It was like in the second round he started saying that stuff. So early on he's doubting himself.
so it shows that they're battling the rest of the fight.
Right.
They're actually going back and forth.
That's
the
exactly
rest of the
right.
Fight.
Right, because I mean, I've still seen the movie quite a few times. So yeah, he cut him much later on originally, but I really like that because I mean, Drago is Drago. You know, he's gigantic. You know, he's strong as an ox. I mean, everyone else that he's probably ever fought. I mean, even during the training montage, his sparring partners are going down in one round. He's knocking everybody
He's
out.
Mike
He
Tyson
killed
them all.
Apollo. Yeah, he's just Tyson. He's not used to people standing up. So when Rocky got to the second round, the third round, Drago had never seen that before. And he's starting to freak out. Like, how is this guy even still standing? I've hit him with all these shots.
It's so crazy. It just gave it a totally different
It
feel.
took his heart away.
So,
Right, exactly.
So some of the other changes, to the original movie, I thought were how did they cut out Duke's speech at Apollo's funeral? That was a great moment. That wasn't in the original, and then it was in this one.
It should have been for sure. The funeral was way too short.
Right.
In the original.
Yeah. It was more powerful this time around.
And it needed to be powerful. It was about his death. It was the revenge of his death. So
this was the whole thing. And so then Rocky gives up and gives a speech after Duke, and Duke's speech was awesome, right? And it was such a moment. And then you can see the guilt, and because they put more of the lead up to the fight, then you saw right off the bat that Rocky was guilty because he was the one that was supposed to fight Drago, and he didn't want to, and he basically said, okay, you fight him first, and then I'll fight him. And then he blamed himself because he's the one that could have stopped it, not only with the towel scene when Duke's saying, throw the damn towel.
Well, the towel scene was better also because it was tighter.
Right.
The last time, the first one, he held it for a long time.
He changed it.
This one, he got it real quick and just didn't get a chance, though, it seemed like.
Right, absolutely. But you just thought it was guilt because of the towel scene, but there was guilt because it was Rocky that was supposed to fight Drago. That's why Drago came to the United States, and then Creed stepped in, and he allowed Apollo Creed to step in. And so, did you like that part of the changes to the new version of Rocky IV, Richie?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, you've said it a few times. It just has a lot more depth to it. You understand a lot more about why things are happening, why things ended up this way, and why Rocky feels the way he is. And during his funeral speech, it's hard to sit through in a good way. Because, I mean, Rocky's up there giving his speech, and, I mean, he's barely making it through, right? He's about to break down completely. You just see so much. You see so much.
I got a problem on that one.
What's that?
I do have a problem.
What's your problem?
I hate to say this, but
I don't think you hate to say it. Or you wouldn't say it. So say it.
I do. Rocky's crying or sadness is not Stallone himself. It's not really ever really good when he except when Mickey died.
Well, that was great.
That was good, but yeah. I mean, he's got a slobber. He's got a slobber. He's got a heavy, loud.
He just says all these.
He's got a slobber. But when it just looked like he was acting like he was crying in Rocky IV.
All right, so
and that was his best crying scene when Mickey died. I mean,
I don't like being critical of Rocky, but you're right because Duke's
I don't either.
Speech was perfect.
Yes.
And then Stallone came up and it was like,
forcing himself to be sick.
Go back to it served its purpose,
it
right?
did.
As a vehicle for the drama, but it was hard to follow. Tony Burton, and he was underutilized and underrated as Duke the trainer.
And another thing about the movie, I mean, all of them, every actor in there is they're all good. I mean, they're all pretty good.
Do we love anyone more than Burt Young though?
Well, no, I don't. I mean,
because you know why?
I relate to Burt Young.
You know why you relate to him? Because you are the unsilent majority.
I am the unsilent majority. Yes, I am. Yeah.
Another great part of the documentaries, they showed how many times Burt Young had to deliver that, and every time it cracked Rocky because Stallone couldn't keep a strat face.
And if I threw a turkey out the door, I would definitely keep the leg.
That's right. There you go. I'm the unsilent majority, and he was fantastic, and we love and like you said,
all great. I mean, Talia Shire. I mean,
Talia Shire was because I felt like when we were watching it back then, we always thought of her as kind of like she dragged everything down,
No, every scene she was in was very dramatic. I wish they didn't take out the scene on the steps and cut it down as much. I liked that scene in the first one.
So you liked it better in the first one?
I like because I like her. She was good in Rocky III. She was good on the beach. That was one of the greatest scenes in Rocky III. I thought on the beach when he was telling.
Some people thought like she was a killjoy because we wanted Rocky to fight, and she's coming here. You can't win. Like, what are you telling him you can't win for? Don't do that.
She pushed him.
Right, but
it's a love story.
Right,
it's about them.
That was his conscience, but he recut that to where when she told him you can't win, and he looks away. He's well, Adrian always tells the truth.
Right.
And you could see how it kind of broke his heart that she didn't believe him. And again, they took some out of it, but it gave it a better idea. Like I'll be honest with you, in the first Rocky IV, I thought she was just being a bitch. Like, go to Russia with him. You think he's going to get hurt? Go. Why aren't you going with him?
Because you're 13.
Right. And I was mad. But now you see she was heartbroken. And she didn't want him to go, and she's looking out the window, and she sees him leaving the cab, and it was more, and then she showed up, and like, I couldn't stay away, I had to be here with you.
It's like your wife wouldn't want you to die. Well,
she wouldn't want me to go to Russia. Well, she wouldn't want me to go to Russia.
That's
right.
what Adrian
she wouldn't want to die, but I think my wife would like me to go to Russia,
she would like
if
you to go to
at all
Russia.
possible.
Yeah.
But the way they cut it just kind of made more sense. And again, what Stallone said, instead of having just all these scenes thrown together, montage, music, lights, it was a better transition to understand the drama of the storyline, right?
Right. You also got one or two more scenes of Adrian trying to sort of bargain and plead with
the
Rocky.
kitchen.
Right. When they talked about it and they had the conversation before he left, something else that changed.
Something else that bothered me was the decor of the kitchen didn't really match.
You didn't like the kitchen?
You know, it looked like a Northeast kitchen.
Yeah.
And they're in Beverly Hills. I mean,
Yeah, it looked like my kitchen on Van Front.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I don't know. Yeah, you're
have
right.
a nice flower. I was
Okay,
like,
nothing wrong with that kitchen, but it
don't
didn't seem
look
like Rocky's
it
kitchen,
don't
right?
look like his kitchen.
Right. So something else too that I thought was the speech kind of changed at the end. If I can change, and you can change, and we all can change. And something that really caught my ear, and I perked up when I heard it. The original Rocky IV, it ends with Hearts on Fire. They replay that again. That changed.
It did.
They played Eye of the Tiger, and I'm like, let's fucking go! It's Eye of the Tiger.
Which, I got a question. Did they play the original Rocky song in this one? They didn't in the original, the 1985
You mean like
cut.
the score? Did
yeah,
they?
the score. I don't know if they did in this one. They didn't in.
There were a
85.
couple, I have to go back and watch
Yeah.
that again, but that's like the use of Eye of the Tiger at the end was certainly something that caught my eye. And so this is like Jake hasn't seen it. My producer Jake is super mad about this, and he's boycotting.
He hasn't seen it.
He hasn't seen the director's cut. He's seen the original, but he's boycotting the director's cut because I told him one spoiler that made him very angry. The robot has been cut from the movie.
Absolutely.
Finally, we're talking about this.
That bothered some people.
Which
because,
again, I like the robot.
Right.
And
right. And how many times
At 13.
would we go to a bar or a club back in the day, and we'd be having a couple of drinks, and all of a sudden, do the robot. All of a sudden, I just walk up to her and go, "Happy birthday, Polly," and we just all laugh and they go,
She
like,
loves
"These
me.
idiots."
I'm gonna get her when I get back. I'm gonna get her wires tied.
Right. But Stallone, looking back, hates the robot now. Hated the robot, and I love the robot.
He does, but he had good intentions then because of his son.
Because guess what? We all wanted that robot.
We all wanted it.
And then we liked when Paulie had the robot and he changed the robot to a female voice, and then we're all like,
And he's bringing him beers.
"Oh, Paulie, he got himself a female robot."
Yeah.
Now everyone's happy. So now, how do you feel? Were you glad that the robot was cut from the new Rocky IV, or did you demand the robot to be back?
Well, I'm just glad that we're all agreeing on it. I thought this was going to be a controversial take on my part. I love the robot. I want the robot in there.
Yeah, and I totally get it. Why he thought it was just
I think they should have made a play on the robot a little more in the movie, like made fun of it a little
just
bit.
put the robot in there.
Everybody hated the robot.
Paulie's got to be happy too.
Right.
know?
Like, why are you stealing Paulie's joy? He loved that robot. And just one of my favorite scenes, "Happy birthday, Paulie." I'm like,
Of course.
Yeah.
I thought the robot should be nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Of course, I was wrong. It didn't, but I wanted it to.
Well, see, my favorite scene was with the robot. Like I just said, when I get home, I'm gonna get your wires tied.
Right. Yeah, so it
One of
totally.
my funny lines.
Right.
Paulie always had funny lines.
Totally. The robot does not exist in this movie. And something else. Remember the scene of Rocky and his friend, Rocky's son, and his friends cheering back at home.
Right.
That's my dad.
That's out of there. And so they had one pretty good. They had actually a better scene when they're lying in his bed and talking about why he's going to go fight. That was pretty good, but they cut out a lot of stuff there with his son. And then, like we said, the fight scene between Drago and Rocky, there were adjustments made there. And there was one point they had like an inner monologue where you hear Rocky talking to him, like,
Right.
"You got to get up."
Right. Yeah, that was very good. I like that.
And I like that
a lot.
too. And so overall, now that we've kind of fleshed this out and talked about this, what movie is better? Because again, Stallone said in 1985,
Rocky IV.
well, that's right. That's the correct answer. But in 1985, that was the movie he made for the time, for that era, and that's why it was so wildly popular. But now he's made this movie in his mind more like Rocky and Rocky II, where it's more of a drama, and he edited it that way, and he thinks it's a better movie. And so now that we talk about this, and don't worry what you thought about when you were 12 or when you're 49, what's the better movie, the original Rocky IV or this version of Rocky IV? What's the better movie?
Richie? No.
I was going to defer to you.
Yeah, come on, Rocky!
That's what you're here for?
I like the second one. I do. I like the second one. I think there's some things missing. A couple
what?
things I wish was
What,
in there. Like
the
a
robot?
couple scenes. Of course, the robot.
Okay, what else would you put
I love
back
the
in there?
robot. I
What
love
would
more Paulie. That's just Paulie.
Oh yeah.
More Paulie. I
You
mean,
gotta have Paulie.
Paulie's part of his whole. I mean, them three together. Even push Creed aside, and all them three together. I mean, that's part of the whole Rocky.
Right.
Yeah,
from the
I'll never complain about more Burt Young.
No, yeah, more Burt Young has always been fun. Even in what was it when he wore instead of Rocky's name on the back of his shirt it said Paulie.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Going out to the
Right. That's right.
Uh-huh.
So what movie was better, Richie?
I feel like for a definitive answer, I would really have to compare the two, a little bit more. Like go back and watch them.
What a shitty answer.
Yeah,
But
that's
Which
copping
movie
out.
did you enjoy more?
I'm leaning towards the new one, right? The director's cut.
I'm leaning
it just
towards the
feels
old one because I
stronger.
missed the fucking robot. Bring the robot. You put the robot in the second one, and then it's a perfect movie.
But I would love the robot.
You asked which I think is the better movie, not which one I loved more.
Right.
No, I'm always going to go back to the original.
Because that's what we're
'cause
used
that's what
to.
you
That's-
know. I know it
that's
line
right.
for line, this and this. I mean, this is
Like there was even one point no one recognized it in the corner when he goes, "I see three of them," and then
the one in the middle.
Paulie goes, "Hit the one in the middle."
That's right.
But then Duke goes, "He's right. Hit the one,"
in the
but he
middle.
didn't say
They
he's
said
right.
That was a
It's
great
just-
line.
Yeah,
That's a great line. That's just like the line from nobody else would do this much for charity.
Right.
Bob Hope would. I think you better call Bob Hope.
Or the funny one,
Yeah,
like
that's funny.
what's,
I mean,
what's
that's
great.
part of the Rocky movie. That's funny.
One of the best part goes, he goes, "Well, you know what I said about wanting to be you? Forget it." And I laughed out loud. at
Forget
that,
it,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so now let's get deeper into this. All right.
We weren't deep.
Uh-oh.
We remove Rocky from this equation. And I'm talking about Apollo Creed in his prime, Clubber Lang in his prime, Ivan Drago in his prime. Let's start here. Not the Apollo Creed from Rocky IV. I'm talking about the Apollo Creed when he was the champ. If Apollo in his prime and Drago in his prime fight, who wins? Is it still Drago or does Apollo win?
I think it's Apollo. It's like comparing everybody to Ali.
I think
It's the same way.
Richie?
I agree. I think Apollo would win.
I think Apollo takes him into deep water. He's able to tire him out, and ultimately he gets a stoppage. 14th round, 15th round. Again, fights went 15 rounds back then. Okay. Apollo versus Clubber Lang.
I take Apollo. I still take Apollo.
Well, Clubber Lang didn't. I mean, he only beat Rocky when Rocky wasn't prepared because he's all lost in his stardom and
Yeah, so we
everything.
don't
So
know
he's
how
not
good he
even
was.
one of the top villains in
And,
general.
and Mickey had just died.
Mickey just
Right.
died. Yeah. You need more slobber.
Right. And so and I'm with you.
Crooked lip.
In my opinion, Apollo, just a unanimous 15-round decision, or Clubber Lang quits on the stool late in the fight because he's so behind.
Oh, yeah,
and
I
he
mean,
can't,
Clubber would hardly be able to touch
He wouldn't
Apollo.
be
He would
able to
just
touch him.
pepper
And
him.
Apollo
Jabs and
just
straights,
jab,
ones
jab,
and twos.
bam, 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 bam. Apollo.
Rocky beat Apollo at the end of his career.
Right.
Basically.
Okay. So now, Clubber Lang versus Ivan Drago, both in their prime. Who wins?
Drago.
Drago.
So we don't think much of Clubber Lang
not very
on
much.
this
No,
fucking
it's like-
podcast. By the way,
no,
He's
no.
all
beats
right.
no one.
No, he
then.
sucked.
The only way
he
he
sucks.
wins is when Rocky is distracted by fame and Mickey just died.
Yeah. He's like a 2-3 round chump. That's
You
all he
get
is.
you get him into the 5th or 6th round, it's over.
Overdone.
He's done.
He's done.
Right? Okay. So what if
Have
Rocky?
you seen him lately?
He never came in. He's not even involved. You need to bring him back.
He's done.
How come he didn't come in Creed or whatever?
Yeah.
So then you said Rocky. This is gonna be controversial. You said Rocky beat Apollo at the end of his career. So you're saying if they meet 5 years earlier, then Rocky doesn't win,
We didn't win. The first
right?
time.
Well, I'm talking about
didn't.
at all. He never the remake. He doesn't win.
I don't know. I don't know about that one. That's like an Ali Marciano thing.
Did
People argue about.
Rocky only beat Apollo the second time because Apollo was over the hill, or does Rocky always win that rematch, Richie?
It depends because Rocky won Rocky. I mean, like the whole first part of the movie is he was a bum, right? He wasn't training, he wasn't doing anything. But if he in the second one, he was more of a trained boxer. Now he still wasn't very technically sound. He was just a brawler, but he was in better shape. He was actually taking it
Do
seriously.
we know the age difference? I can't remember that. Oh.
Because
Rocky had a shitload of fights, so I
did.
don't think it was too far. Like Rocky wasn't,
34.
yeah, but he's fighting people like Spider Rico or something.
Hey, Spider
Rico.
That's my son with a Spider Rico reference. Now that's right.
That's
Did
right.
I raise him right?
Yeah, Spider
That's
Rico.
who Rocky's fighting in the opening scene of Rocky 1. Oh,
That's the mission.
oh, your
Glad to
grandma's
make you
so
proud.
happy.
Yeah.
She's tears of joy in heaven. Okay, I hate this question with all my heart. Clubber Lang versus Tommy Gunn.
Tommy Gunn.
No. Are you fucking kidding me?
Well, I want to hear your reasoning on this.
Because Clubber Lang would just kick his. It does a first or second round knockout.
Well, Tommy Gunn was that way too. I mean, he was bigger.
But who did?
He was a better boxer. He was a better boxer.
Who did Tommy Gunn? He beat Union Kane. Who did that? No. Clubber Lang knocks out Tommy Morrison / Tommy Gunn in the second round.
I think that Tommy Gunn can take more of a beating, so he would last longer.
Maybe I'm just.
Well, I mean,
He's feeling bad for Clubber Lang.
You know, because I'm thinking about Tommy Morrison, who when I see him get knocked out in real life, so maybe that's what it was. I don't know.
I mean, but they had that whole street fight, so he's getting bare knuckles to the face, and he was still standing longer than Clubber Lang did in the second fight.
But I mean, that was a young and vibrant Rocky who just was then had a full training camp with Apollo at his gym and was fighting for the loss of Mick. And that Rocky out there in the streets was win for me, and that was a little different.
Yeah,
right. You're right.
I still wouldn't want to get hit by him.
So nothing. So you give credit to Clubber Lang. You have Clubber Lang beating fucking Spider Rico at least, maybe.
Maybe because I don't know if Rocky was going to beat him until Spider Rico cheated. I don't think Rocky was losing that fight, wasn't he?
Right. Well,
at first,
that's exactly right.
Then he got mad and took it serious.
Yeah. Wasn't classically trained very well.
I don't think Rocky had at the beginning of the movies, he didn't have the killer instinct.
He was just going through the motions.
Okay, now for our purposes, you never involve Rocky V in this conversation.
No,
but I do bring Rocky Balboa into this conversation.
Absolutely.
Rank those movies: Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, and Rocky Balboa. Rank them.
1, 2, 3.
You're just going in order. No,
I'm not.
Say to do that.
I'm not. No, I would actually go 2-1, 2-1, 3. I do. Yeah, he wins. I mean,
Rocky 2 is my favorite.
Okay,
but you said Rocky 1 earlier. So
no. 2, 1, 3. Balboa 4. I mean, Balboa brings you back. Well, yeah. Balboa because of the nostalgia of Balboa.
Rocky 4 with the robot is your last.
Maybe with the robot.
That was with the robot.
There's a lot of good. I can't play off of 13-year-old memories either because it was a good time. I mean, we skipped school, went to the Royals Parade. We did a lot of good things. Good things. In '85. But I mean, I got to get that out of my mind. Okay. And I think Balboa was the more dramatic.
I loved Rocky Balboa. We saw that together.
Yes, we did. The premiere.
Okay, rank the Rocky movies. Please exclude Rocky 5.
Please.
Well, that was at the top of my list, so I'm gonna have to,
And you will be thrown out of the fucking podcast in a minute.
Oh God. I would say probably it's really tough between 1 and 2. I feel like it's pretty unanimous that they're in the top, right? I think I might lean towards Rocky 1 just because I like.
Well, Rocky won Best Picture, the Academy Award.
I just sort of like the fleshing out of Rocky because you meet him, he's just he's a goof, he's not really anything too special, like he's got great heart, but he's just living life. He's at the bottom of the pile. He's struggling like anybody else is. And he's just getting a lucky break.
And Stallone said people can identify with that because it's not just about boxing. It's about somebody that wants to do something great and won't give up and won't. And it's not even about These used to really piss me off when I was a kid that Rocky didn't win in Rocky 1, right?
Right.
But now as you get older, there was something beautiful about that. That even though he knew he wasn't going to win a decision, you couldn't keep him down. And he just wanted to finish. And Sylvester Stallone said something beautiful in the documentary about that. He goes, it's about life. Because in life, we're not talking about being the heavyweight champion. We're not talking about being a billionaire. We're talking about living your life and making it to the end and looking back and saying,
problems.
You know what?
He said problems, how you handle them problems.
Yeah, you didn't fucking give up. Because his life, everyone deals with problems. Life is about who manages their problems the best. But it's a metaphor for getting to the end of your life, looking back and saying, you know what, I got knocked down, but I didn't quit, which kind of goes into his monologue in Rocky Balboa that's great, about how life's going to keep you down, but you got to keep going and never giving up. And so there is something beautiful about that. So then when I was a kid, I hated the Rocky lost, but now I totally understand that, and that's something beautiful about that Rocky lost in Rocky 1, and that's what made Rocky 2 so much sweeter.
Right.
So what's your ranking?
But yeah, so I just love to see him interact with Adrian in that, he go to the pet shop and
that
visit
was
her.
terrific.
Their date at the ice rink is amazing. I love that. I love that.
And
scene.
Paulie was awesome too.
Right, and Paulie is just, he's Paulie.
Right.
You can't say enough about him.
So
He's hilarious.
what's your ranking?
So I guess I'll go 1, 2, 4, either version, and then 3, and then Balboa.
And see, you don't appreciate Balboa because Balboa's for old guys.
Well,
when you're like 40 or 50, then
I think
get it.
Part of the nostalgia kind of plays into it.
Right here.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it reminds me of my neighborhood.
Ding, 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 ding. Mm-hmm. It reminds guys like us.
Yeah.
Tom grew up in the North End. I grew up in Northeast. If you grew up in an old neighborhood,
there's a nostalgia. There's an interaction. There's something about the people.
It makes you feel
and
good.
They're the same everywhere.
Going
Philadelphia here. Them kind of neighborhoods are all the same.
But here's the even the last thing on my list doesn't mean it's a bad movie. Right. I'm not saying I dislike it because I love all of them and it's really hard to rank. But
let's not go back.
That's about where it was.
Okay. Stick with your answers. Come on.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sticking
with
it.
Backpedal.
Okay, don't backpedal.
And so
I'm not sitting here saying Rocky Balboa was a bad movie because it's not. I will not say that.
Well, you say that Rocky V was a bad movie.
I haven't seen it enough. I've seen it once or twice, but it's.
But here's the deal, though.
It could have been a good movie.
It didn't make a mark on me.
I watched the shit out of Rocky V, and it's like compared to anything, I love it. Yeah. Touch me and I'll sue. Touch me and I'll sue, and then he.
I got one good thing coming out of Rocky V. They actually say Rocky's name in it. Duke does when he gets out of the limo. He goes Robert Balboa. His name's Robert Balboa.
That's right. And I thought he was good. Right?
He was
good.
like Don King. I mean, Rocky bases everything. I mean, Stallone. I'm sorry, Rocky bases everything off of real world boxing, somewhat. In his movie,
the guy that played Union Kane was an actual heavyweight fighter named Mike Williams, who then signed to fight Tommy Morrison, who played Tommy Gunn at Kemper Arena with me in the crowd, and I was watching Tony Holden, who then became my dear friend Randy Carver's promoter, but he was Tommy Morrison's promoter, and I was sneaking over to the tunnel to see what was going on, and Mike Williams was there, and he saw how many people were at Kemper Arena, and so he held out for more money. Tony Holden kind of had an idea that Mike Williams was flaky, and they were playing, the whole idea was Tommy Morrison and Mike Williams. You saw them battle on the big screen. Now see him at Kemper Arena.
Right,
and of course, people are like, holy shit. We're going to, and guess what? We didn't go to see Tommy Morrison versus Mike Williams. We were there to see Tommy Gunn against Union Kane. And at that point, remember, Rocky was going to some of Tommy Morrison's fights and shit.
That wasn't, Mickey Rourke wasn't on that card, was he?
Oh, yes, he was.
Mickey Rourke was.
And he wore, and Todd Lebo will tell you, he wore a handmade necklace with a little pouch with a dead bird in it.
Yeah.
And it was his pet dead bird that he... It's
Crazy.
fucking Mickey Rourke.
Yeah,
what do you
Mickey
want me to tell you about this? Yeah. And he came out to Sweet Child of Mine. I remember all this shit. And so I'm looking back there, and Mike Williams was arguing with Tony Holden. And I'm thinking, oh, no, he's not going to fight, and then we're not going to see Tommy Morrison fight tonight. Holden had an idea. He had a guy in the crowd as a backup, the doughboy, Tim Tomaszek. And so then Mike Williams said, no, I want double the pay or whatever he said. Tony Holden basically said, hey, fuck you. I got a guy out here. Right, and they brought him out there. And if you go watch on YouTube, Tommy Morrison and Tim Tomaszek, a fat guy that kind of looked like me, like, hey, let's go. And he lasted some rounds.
He did.
But that's how that happened. That was supposed to be a playoff Rocky V.
It was.
Weird shit, but there you go. And so I'll ask you guys. So I'll say Rocky 2. Rocky. Man, fuck you guys. I go Rocky 3 because that introduced Hulk Hogan to the world. And, Thunder Lips, the ultimate male. Lebo! Get Lebo in this. Yell at Lebo. Come here real quick. It came up. I don't care if you're busy.
Come on,
you're
Lebo.
part of the Hot Mic fam. I'm asking. Come here.
Come down. Sit down.
It came up to Mickey Rourke fighting in Kansas City. Tell people again what he had around his neck in the only way you could describe it, please.
Mickey Rourke fought at Kansas City and had a dead bird in a pouch around his neck that he wore. Right. He didn't wear it in the ring, obviously.
Right. Did you like it?
It was weird. But then I sat next to him after he fought while we were watching. It was Tommy Morrison, right?
Yeah.
So after that, I was sitting next to him, and like he was like a hot Hollywood guy or whatever. Mm-hmm. He was freaking. That's Hot Mic, right? That's fucking disgusting.
It's a dirty smell. It smelled awful. I seen him in the bar afterwards.
Yeah. He had never showered, nothing.
No.
He had on. I'm pretty sure he had leather overalls on with no shirt.
He did.
Wow. He had a dead bird around his fucking neck.
That's a statement.
You're judgmental. Who doesn't at one time or other wear leather overalls with a dead bird around their neck?
Me.
Well, I think get out of here. Thank you very much for
verifying my
story. Right.
Maybe someday.
You're still a young man. So
I will say though, the Rocky 3 training montage, I know I put it a bit low, but it's one of the best. Right, him training with Apollo.
Right,
it's amazing.
And so I gotta go Rocky 2, Rocky 1, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, and then Rocky Balboa. But there's too much nostalgia for me to put that ahead of Rocky 4. And so then I ask you this: If I said include Creed, is Creed better than any of the Rocky movies?
Different.
Is it better? Don't be afraid.
Before,
you're still in the Rocky universe.
Okay, it doesn't compete for me.
So now, so it doesn't compete. That's what I want to hear.
But it doesn't compete with the original Rockies at all.
It don't bring the jitters or the.
You don't care enough about Creed's son.
I don't. No.
Right?
No.
Well,
no. I like them. I mean, I think they're great.
I remember like watching Creed, and I was with you watching Creed, and Rocky was real sick, and I said, if they fucking kill Rocky, right, then I'm going to riot in this fucking movie.
Yeah, that doesn't end well for anybody.
And the whole time watching, I go, I'm not kidding. If they kill him off, and then they kind of jack with you again. Remember when they're showing the cemetery at the end, and you're thinking,
"It's gonna show his tombstone."
I go, motherfucker,
ain't no way.
And I'm not shitting you, and you know this. He'll tell you, I cry a lot. Mm-hmm. Crying is a big part of my life, and I'm telling you, if that fucking headstone says Rocky Balboa, I'm gonna cry like a baby. I'm like. And then it was him visiting Apollo Creed. Like, okay, it's all right now. Like, Creed's dead. I'm good with that. I knew that already, but don't you dare kill Rocky.
Well, what gave you, out of all the Rocky series, what gave you the biggest chill?
Oh, I mean, look, the greatest scene ever is when him and Apollo both get knocked down.
That gave you the biggest chill?
Oh, when he got up. And
you're going to laugh at mine.
But again, you didn't know. There were no spoilers. In the movie, you didn't know what was fucking going on.
What made you want to jump up and fight?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. Okay. I'll tell you exactly what happened in this fucking movie. And so in Rocky 2, I'm a kid, you're watching this, and they're both down. And you go, 1, 2. And you hear the, if Creed gets up, he retains the title. And oh, shit. And, even my mom and dad, and my mom's going crazy, and my dad, and all, and then all of a sudden, like Rocky stumbles up, and then you don't know what's going on, and you see the ref, you're out, and they're like, Rocky Balboa. And I remember a bunch of, and I'm not fucking exaggerating. It's one of the best memories of my childhood. All the kids get up again, Blue Ridge East, jumping up, and we're running up and down the fucking aisles. Rocky just fucking won.
Yeah. You've never been to a show than the original Rocky.
Crazy in this son of a bitch. So it's Rocky 2.
That gave me the most exciting joke, but the most like a. Well, it's really weird. It's
the robot.
No.
when Rocky and Adrian were rolling around while Clubber Lang was
training
in Chicago.
It was with Rocky and Adrian. It was in the hospital when she said "win."
Oh, of course, yes. That would be number 2.
Yeah, that made me laugh.
Right, and when she wakes up from the coma, she says, "Come here," and Rocky's like,
"Rocky,
don't decide. I'm not fucking fighting no more. I'm done with this. I love my wife. I love my baby with somehow the baby born with the biggest, fullest head of hair you've ever seen in your life." But then she goes,
Stallone's son.
She goes, "Come here," and she goes in. She goes, "Win." And you see Rocky. And
what did Mickey say?
He goes, "What are we waiting for?"
But what did he say after that? Take this.
Yeah, and he fucking goes, and then right there,
and you say, I thought it was tickets.
Oh shit!
We're waiting for tickets.
It's fucking on now. Because guess what? But like every movie,
and you can see his confidence though. But you can see Rocky's confidence.
He just lights up.
Right. And then it's on. Like, Apollo, you're fucked.
Yeah.
You're fucked, man. But then that goes back to my point. It got to be every movie. Then you got to get Adrian on board. I'm like, just get on board. He's gonna fucking fight. Because then at the beach, she got to talk to him. But then at Rocky 4, it's like you're gonna just get on board with this man.
Stay behind him.
Drinking eggs and trying to win a fight for you. All right, he pulled you out of the pet store, but then you get older. You say, oh, she was his heart and soul. Yeah, that was his reason for fighting. And he said, you can't. He goes, you can't just be fighting for a title. You can't be fighting for yourself. You have to be fighting for something greater. And he was always fighting for Adrian and his family.
Rocky is a love story with boxing in it.
He said it's not a sports movie.
It's not a sports movie. It's a love story about him.
So anything else we need to say, because we're out of time here? Is there anything else you want to get off your chest about the Rocky franchise?
About the Rocky franchise? I don't think we have enough time.
Are you looking forward to? Are you looking forward to Creed 3, or are you done with? Are you done with Creed?
No, I'm looking forward. I look forward to anything, like even Rocky 5. I look forward to anything with Rocky in it.
I'm not a stupid man, although most people would argue otherwise. And I'm talking to whoever's out there. This podcast maybe can go around the world. I get it. At some point, theoretically, Stallone must die and Rocky must die, but you motherfuckers better not kill him on screen. That's all I'm saying. I can't handle that. I've made it now to almost 50 years old. Do not kill my movie hero on screen. Just let him live Let him live forever, and then just let me into my imagination. In my mind, he lives to 125 years old. That's it. Don't you kill Rocky on screen. That's all I said. All right? I don't care.
I agree.
I'm
down with that.
That would be too cheap.
That'd be worse than
Trying to get
Yeller.
some cheap tears. I'm not going to take that. I will not have that. Now, Richie St. John, take a bite of that sandwich right here on camera.
About time.
That's right.
I've been
What do you
starving.
got? What do you got there?
What do you got there, Richie?
Chicken parmesan sandwich from Dominic's Casual Italian.
Tom, could you tell us a little bit about that sandwich that Richie's eating?
It's fucking good.
You made it.
I made it.
What's
this
that,
morning.
people? You got 1 minute to tell people where that sandwich came from.
6209 Northwest 63rd Terrace, 64151.
How often are you there?
I'm there every day, every night.
Will you invite people to come in and discuss
invite everybody
Rocky
to come in and talk about Rocky over a nice chicken parmesan handmade sandwich.
What's the best thing to get there? What's the best thing on the menu? I got time. I'm going to stop there on the way to the airport. What do I get at Dominick's?
Everything.
Well, I can't get everything.
Everything. Lasagna. Spadini.
I like the chicken parm.
Chicken parm,
What's
Chinese
that,
steak.
that
That's
chocolate
my favorite.
dessert that my daughters like.
Chocolate mousse. Cheesecake. Cannolis.
Right. Hey, leave the guns. Go
Grab
grab
the
the cannolis.
cannolis. Hey, what do we got? We got live life. Grab life by the meatballs. That's what we're saying.
He says grab life by the meatballs.
Yeah.
So again, tell people where they can get some delicious Italian food.
6209 Northwest 63rd Terrace. Dominic's Casual Italian. You're welcome. We're open from 11 to 9. 11 to 9:30 a week, 11 to 9:30 on the weekends, 8 o'clock on Sundays, 7 days a week.
You come in and ask for you?
Come and ask me. I might be in the kitchen. I might be in the back.
Get your ass out of the
but
kitchen.
I'll come.
All right. And that's my brother from another mother.
Look at them glasses on
Big
that guy.
Tom Ragusi's pointing at Jake and his mustache.
I got his
and then you put your glasses on.
There you go, Jake. I like that, Jake.
That's my son from his mother, Richie St. John. I'm Stephen St. John. Thank you to my man. Flip that back up on the screen right there, my man Patrick Carter, who brings this podcast to you. I don't know if he's proud of it, but he's enthusiastic, and that's all that matters. You see what I'm saying? That's my face. We'll show you our sponsor, and we thank you for coming on the show, Tom. We thank you for coming on the show, Richie, and thank you for listening. Don't forget to download the podcast, Hot Mic with SSJ, wherever you download your favorite podcast, and also like and subscribe on YouTube. The mic is off.